me, because I've always been this, this leader, this figurehead. And I felt weak at the start because I thought, I'm not being the man of the family. I should be shrugging this off. In so much as it shouldn't be taking me time. I should just be turning my back on this. And I think that's a lot of pain points for people, because it's that period of time is because I opened up. I think it allowed me, it stopped me suppressing the emotion, and it allowed me then to actually free myself of it, and then tune in with, well, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And then I've been on a crazy ride of self-optimization and self-development.
Yeah, mate.
And we're here for a purpose and a reason. We're not here to just be a zombie just plodding at life and just living from month to month. We're here for a reason, and I think that's everybody's duty and responsibility to turn any sort of pain point into a positive.
Experience Real podcast.
I'll just let it flow, innit? It's impressive,
That's it, mate.
This is cool.
Yeah. Well, pull it as close as you want, mate, and then there you are. You happy with that?
Yeah. All good.
Right, Andrew, thanks for coming in, mate.
Joe, welcome. Yeah, thank you so much, mate. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you making the drive up, and got you in today, really. Seen you on Instagram with your Getferal page, your coaching page. And yeah, I thought I seen your content and I thought I'd go have you in, get to know a bit more about you.
Absolutely.
So what was your background before you started your coaching?
Well, it's a little bit of a varied background insofar as I think my story is such. Found my purpose at age 36 back in 2017. And I think if, anybody asked me what was my life before then, it was finding that purpose, if you like, and that passion for life. So, I mean, it's straight out of school, just needed to make money. I was in financial services industry, got on there and sort of got good sort of progression in the corporate industry. And I was climbing the corporate ladder, so to speak. And I done very well, even, built a business fairly recently. And then in 2017, so fairly recently, I had an event in my life where I just felt my walls were crashing insofar as just seeing a lot of illness all around me, whether that was family members and friends. And yeah, it was just a year of what I call a year of wake up, where I was just, instead of plodding through life and just sort of reacting to just living from paycheck to paycheck and just existing. Yeah. I just thought it came down on me, and I just thought I need to crush this monster while it's small. And yeah, I took a deep dive, and I just wanted to, coming from a place of sort of health anxiety, ultimately, just really health conscious. And when I look back, I've been like that since I can ever remember. Always that fear of not having control over something happening to you, and like fear of death and things like that. And I think it's always been there subconsciously. And I just think it was part of my journey growing up. My road was my road. And in terms of the way I am socially, connect with people, done well in the corporate landscape, had a sort of semi-professional rugby career, and all those things happened for me for a reason. Because looking back, that was a good Steve Jobs quote, that you can't join the dots going forward, only looking back. And it's exactly that. It all seems to match up. It's building that skill set that set me up for my year of 2017, when I felt my world was crushing in on me. Yeah. And I just went in a direction of that way, and hence where I am today.
Mate, so the walls crashing down, like, was that work pressure, like family life? Was it like just a accumulation of it all, really? Or?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it was all that, really, and a lot of it I didn't know or wasn't aware of. Different responsibilities, and it was more so to do with the fact that I just didn't like to see people suffering. And I suffered myself. I was in a bit of a dark place with health anxiety. It consumed me. I'd have these symptoms whereby it would run from everything. I suffered so many diseases in the head. We lost a close friend to the village we're in, to a really serious disease. And I just thought that was it. That was my tipping point. I thought that can't be. I want to make it my mission to get to the root of what causes this type of suffering, whether it's, mental illness, whether it's physical illness, and build myself as strong as I can to take this message back that it is some hope, because, we've got a 400 trillion to 1 chance to even make it into this world. And we're here for a purpose and a reason. We're not here to just be a zombie just plodding at life and just living from month to month. We're here for a reason, and I think that's everybody's duty and responsibility to turn any sort of pain point into a positive, if you like, and their purpose in life, and to move that forward. So it was a myriad of things. There was lots of things going on, but for me personally, it was stimulation in terms of stimuli constantly bombarding me, and then those experiences that were happening closer to home, and I just thought it needed to change. How do I do that? And then as part of my story, I tell this story. I got the book at home. It's on my shelf because I went to the doctor and we went through symptoms, and to be fair, the doctor could have even given me a box of a prescription of pills to just say onward, and we'll just review you to help me sleep and just calm me down and things like that. And he didn't. We built rapport. He could see that I didn't want that option, and he gave me and prescribed me a book.
Really?
And he gave me a book, and I always remember my wife went over to the local library to get it. It was a prescription for a book, which is what you don't see much these days. And like I say, it was back in 2017. Perhaps not the best book, but it was a relatable book. It was a book that brought me up and out at the time, and I just geeked out on it, read it over and over and over. And something set me off, and I just thought, that's it. It's repetition. It's just feeding the mind and just growing, being, and just having a compelling vision of what and who I want to become.
What was the book?
The book was a book called Stop Worrying About Your Health, by I'm probably going to butcher his name, George Zagodes. Like I say, it's an ancient book, but it went through lots of sort of cognitive behavioral therapies and everyday sort of tools that you can build into life to just handle anxiety and just those, coming from a
wrapping it out like.
Indeed. And I mean, some of them were relatable, some of them weren't. And then it went into sort of traditional Chinese medicines and therapies. And then I sort of went down the road of, okay, so there was Qigong and Tai Chi and that type of stuff, which I always known as being this sort of like self-defense.
Is Qigong like meditation in a way, though?
Yeah. Absolutely, because Qigong, it's a moving style of meditation, because apparently the Buddhist monks couldn't keep still. The young Buddhist monks, the teenagers, they were just fidgety, and whenever they tried to sit with mind and thought, they would constantly be on the go. So it was a case of, it sort of transitioned into this moving meditation. It was connecting the body, mind, and the breath, and it's moving with breath. And I love that. I enrolled in a school, a guy in America that taught me online, and I done that, and I done the practice, because that's me. I'm a bit. I have OCD, and I'm very obsessive and compulsive, and I just hit it home, and I done it every day, twice a day, and I didn't miss a day for one whole year. I even done it Christmas Day morning and evening, in my own space. I had an agreement with the family. They knew what I needed to do, and I got it done. And it was that mastery. And then from there, it branched out. And then I went into, well, actually, what is sitting meditation? Like, if that's the moving style of meditation. I was just building this, and this was pre-me wanting to serve this up via a coaching method.
Cultivating your own first.
Indeed, yeah. And just at the time, I just wanted to, because I was coming from that place of pain, I just wanted to build a sort of a toolkit of resiliency, if you like, just to think, I'll fend that off. That's not coming for me, because this does X, Y, and Z.
You were an avid Googler before then, I imagine.
Do you know what? It was, and I mean, I remember one night I was watching TV with I didn't tell my family at the time, and I mean, I did Google, because I had sort of twitches in my arm, and you put that into Google, and I mean, it throws up. You've got a week left. And I mean, I'm not vilifying or demonizing Google, but I mean, it just throws up the most, related sort of search, as you know. And it set me off, and I thought, oh, I've got this, I've got that. And I mean, like a twitch like that in the body could just mean low levels of magnesium, something simple that you can supplement. So it's one, that the spectrum.
Oh, mate, it's scary.
And all the symptoms so overlap. And that was in that book, and it did calm me. It was a place of, I can relax, that, it's not that. Tumor in the brain. It's not that chronic.
You haven't had a stroke,
Indeed. So you're right. I Googled, and then it was a transition, really, because I kept it to myself, and then it was, I always had that mindset where I needed to crush this. I needed to become bigger than my environment. I needed to overcome it. And then opened up to my wife, and sort of we went through the what was happening, what was I going through, what was I experiencing, and that was great. That was a sounding board. But I mean, that took a tremendous amount of courage for me, because I've always been this, this leader, this figurehead, and I felt weak at the start, because I thought, I'm not being the man of the family. I should be shrugging this off. In so much as it shouldn't be taking me time, I should just be turning my back on this. And I think that's a lot of pain points for people, because it's that period of time is because I opened up. I think it allowed me, it stopped me suppressing the emotion, and it allowed me then to actually free myself of it, and then tune in with, well, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And then I've been on a crazy ride of self-optimization and self-development.
Yeah, mate, it looks amazing. Like, just looking at your feed, I've gone through, listened to a lot of your videos and stuff, and there's a lot of positives that come out of them.
Indeed.
And I think just people listening to them, it's going to help them. So I just, urge everyone to take a look at it anyway at some point. Because I think, we're so, like you said, like we spoke about before, we're so easily programmed into believing everything that we're fed from mainstream, and it's always negative. Like, that's why I think Instagram, Facebook and all that, they're so bad in so many ways. But if you can fill your feed with the right people, I think it probably could be a good place.
Absolutely.
And that's why, like, someone like you being on there is a benefit, because I think, maybe a lot of people who are like in your position, who maybe are living that sort of life, aren't on there either because of the downside. So
indeed, it is, like you say, it's this the nature of the beast. And I always say to my family, make sure you're creating or consuming on social media, because it is easy. And I found myself doing it, and I've had to snap out of it and just recognizing I'm just here because the algorithm, the scrolling and the way they feed you, we are the product. And I mean, they chuck in front of you what you want to see, and it can keep you there. And that's how the algorithm works. They want that smart device in your hand, you just being on there.
Yeah.
And they are, the Social Dilemma, the series or the documentary on Netflix demonstrated that. And it's a real shame. Like I say, it's beautiful because you can run businesses now. You can get any information, you can reach people. But I think that's the difference. It can either it can take you sliding, or it can climb you up, and you can just better yourself, you can better your family, you can better your life, and you can better other people's lives as well.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And like, I find it myself. Do you know what I mean? I advocate don't go on there too much. And then I'm one of these people putting the content on there, and I get this my own dilemma in my own head. Like, well, I'm putting all this out there for people to be on there.
Indeed.
But then in my own head, I'm like, fuck, I don't even know if I should be here. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's going on in my own head. Like, I sometimes need to take a look at myself and think, am I here for the right reasons or the wrong reasons? And like, evaluate who I am and what I'm doing moving forward.
Bang on. And I mean, you touched on it there. I mean, the conventional mind, because, just to give you insight of where my coaching business name, Getferal, that's where it came from. Because if you look at the definition of feral, it's escape from domestication or from captivity. And in some sense, I think that's what we've become. If we become we've become a captured society, if you like. It's all systemized and like even go as far as how we operate as a younger being, right through the schooling system, to just get on the, you need to earn money to do the corporate thing. And then, what after that, because the happiness is not outside in, it's happiness is from the inside, but they don't teach that in our system and society. So it's the feral experience is stripping that all back, is your raw, true operating system, your iOS, taking it back to factory settings and actually going on a relearning experience. And that's the coaching school I qualified out of. It was the Primal Health Coach Institute. It's an American institution, and absolutely loved it. So it looks at life through an ancestral viewpoint. So it's going back to the cavemen time, if you like, simplified. And what we did, how we conducted ourselves, how we built tribes, how we moved, how we trained, how we recovered. Because I just think it's a real shame now, because everyone just sits in this box of, if you look at nutrition and diet, we don't nourish our body anymore now. Yeah, you've got the carnivore, the vegan, and the vegetarian, and you've got all these different tribes, and I'm not advocating one over the other, but if you strip it back and actually look at where we've evolved, we wouldn't be here today if we didn't eat a certain type of food. And, we've just so far disconnected. My message is, look, whether you're a plant lover, whether you're an animal lover, whether you're not, it's education is my style of coaching. But first, just nourish the body with food. Every bite of food's got a barcode of information. And now,
I like that.
Yeah, we can just get food at every turn now. I mean, you can just, again, on your phone, click a button and you can have something delivered. You haven't got to work for your food anymore. You've got to work for the money. You haven't got to work for your food, and you can get it. And we just overeat. We're wired to overeat.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just dropped in this day and age with the same mind. Our brain is a 2 million year old device, and it's wired to keep you safe ultimately. And it's wired to overeat because we used to go through periods of scarcity where, you know, we'd have a season of plenty of food around which you'd build up, and then you'd have months of scarcity. But now we don't have that scarcity, but we have the months of just constant overfeeding, you know, and it's...
That's me over and over, mate. Me and my brother were talking about this the other day, and we were like, you know, I don't know, say it's Sunday night and you're like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to start this fucking mega diet. I'm going to sort my life out tomorrow. But tonight I'm really going to fuck it up. I'm going to have like the biggest pizza in the world.
Absolutely.
And we were wondering, like, is that linked back to like the day before, like, say you're out hunting or whatever, and you've caught like your animal, but you know after this animal you're not going to be eating for a long time, so you really go to town on it that night. Is that like linked in with that maybe to a degree?
I absolutely, again, because your brain is wired a certain way. Like you say, your brain haven't changed in 2 million years. Just like we're all unique and we all got different fingerprints, we're all bio-individually different, but our brain's the same. And we are wired to consume food. And not only that, I just think the industry now is manipulated, and scientists have worked on certainly processed foods. And that's what I mean. That's what I advocate, is staying away from the hyperpalatable foods that keep you locked in and coming back, because scientists are employed and they target the brain center and the parts of the brain that are locked on to these fats and these sugars in these processed foods. And they're clever because they know you'll keep coming back for them.
Yeah.
Because your brain is wired, or it's turned on ultimately, and you'll overconsume and you'll continue to eat. So stepping away from any processed food, sugars, all the vegetable and seed oils, all these manufactured, man-made stuff. Just go back to a whole foods diet. Cook your own food, and you can't go wrong with that. And like you say, that barcode of information is key, because it you know, it cripples me that people just still count calories. Yeah, macronutrients to a certain level with, you know, your protein, fat, and carbohydrate intake, but I mean, counting calories is just so nonsense, because we all digest differently. We all got internal mechanisms that are different, and different macronutrients digest differently in the body as well. So not all calories are equal. So I mean, you know, if you set yourself up on a calorie game, I mean, you haven't got a level or any nourishment for your body, because it's about hormone optimization, and then that's where the brain-body connection comes in.
Oh, you mind if I just put that a bit forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, mate. No, I totally agree with you, and I've played the calorie game. I've done it, you know, on and off all the time. And to be honest with you, like, what you really find is, like, if you are eating the right things, you've got a job to go over them calories anyway.
Indeed.
You know, like, if you're eating, like you say, stuff from the ground, the meat, the natural stuff that's not processed, you will have a job to go over what most people would say is like a healthy calorie intake a day anyway, because it's such an amount of food.
It is, and I mean, you're right, because then if you, like you say, the sugars and the different foods they put, so the emulsifiers and things like that, the gums and the binders that they put in these foods, they keep you coming back. And like you say, taking it back to just eating raw food is more satiating, it's metabolically supportive, and it can keep you fuller for longer. And it really is. It's not as more complex than that. But if you're just counting calories and eating junk, it's just you're just trying to bottle a fat ultimately, because it's a crap strategy. It's not going to work.
No, I agree, mate. And like when I was like 7 or 8, I can remember I was like getting depressed as like a 7, 8, 9-year-old. My mum and dad were like, "What's going on here? Like, you shouldn't be like this." Didn't want to leave the house. Didn't want to get off the sofa. Didn't want to do anything. Took me to like nutritionalist, dietitian, kind of. What's the word? Like alternative one then, like, you know, not your standard sort of person you go to, like a doctor or whatever, and they come back saying like gluten and dairy intolerant. And like now, as I've gone through my life, like I've spells where I eat it and I drink it and I feel crap, and it still gets me now. Every time I have it, or a long period of consuming it, I feel like absolute shit. And then I look around as well at loads of people who are suffering with IBS and a lot of issues, and I'm looking at them thinking like, God, I'm sure you're exactly the same as me. You just don't know it. Like,
well, bang on, and I think you're right, and I think, you know, the mainstream going to the GP, the general practitioner, and I mean, they you know, they're not trained in, they'll do blood work and they may or may not identify certain markers, but I mean, you're right, because with gluten, I'd go as far as to say we're all sensitive to gluten. Our digestive system hasn't developed enough to actually process the problem proteins in it. And I mean, some people that'll manifest as celiac, so you can't digest or intake any gluten because it'll just wipe you out. As in, it takes your immune system down and you've got no energy, and it can be really problematic because it breaks down the gut lining. And whether you are just having some sort of something, but it doesn't manifest as something, but at some level, I think if you took blood markers on anyone, they would show some sort of inflammatory response to gluten.
100%, mate. You're just operating at such a...
Yeah.
Like if I had like a slice of bread every day for a few weeks, after a few weeks, I would noticeably be operating at a lower level.
Indeed.
Like I'd be in a shit state. I couldn't think.
Yeah.
It's all like things which you don't even think about that it would affect. It's not just I feel bad.
Indeed.
It's like I'm just...
I absolutely, and you're right with the with the milk and the lactose intolerance and stuff like that. I mean, because if you look at it from an evolutionary perspective as well, milk is for, we're the only animal that drinks another animal's milk. There's nothing out there that you will see another animal drinking another animal's milk on humans. But I mean, if you don't possess the lactase enzyme that breaks down the sugar molecule, which is lactose, it can present a real problem for people. Like you say, it can cause IBS and digestive issues because as adults, we don't need to grow. And that's, from an evolutionary perspective, that's what happens. You have it as a child or as a minor, you've got that enzyme, but you lose it as you grow older because you've got no need to grow or develop. So this is, depending on where you live, areas of the world, whether you possess that enzyme or not. I possess it because I've had my DNA and my genes tested. But I possess it, so I'm okay with dairy. But for crazy amount of the population, I mean, it's catastrophic. Like you say, some people can go multiple times a day eating bread and milk, or suspect sort of proteins in these foods, and it's a shame because, like you say, people just want to operate at their fullest. They want to be healthy, but like you say, at every turn, if you've got these foods and you've got the convenience of just picking something up, either putting it in a microwave or on the go snack. I do feel for people in that area because it just makes life easier. Yeah. In some sense, but it's a real shame.
I think as well though, when you're on that level, like I know even now knowing that, like when I'm feeling good, I know that, but when I start feeling bad, I convince myself it can't be that. I know. You know what I mean? It's like such a weird balance. Even knowing it and having that knowledge, you can still. It's like your mind plays tricks on you to tell you it's not that. Come on. Indeed. What is that? What do you think that is?
Well, I just think, again, it's maybe the fact that you've got these parts of the brain that are turned on by this stuff, and it's a case of they want more of it. It's a survival mechanism. It's the same with sugary foods and honey and things like that. It was natural. It's fructose. It's natural occurring sugars. I mean, that's different to maybe the sugars that they put in these processed foods. It is, and I mean, our body can only tolerate 5 grams of sugar, so it's a teaspoon of sugar.
Yeah,
in an healthy adult. But I mean,
was that a day or
in the system at any one time?
Yeah,
the rest then is just shoveled into liver or muscle glycogen for storage for later. That's that's insulin's job. Your pancreas secretes insulin to take. It gives you enough fuel for immediate survival, and then the rest it just puts in storage, and that's what you see with somebody that overeats and overconsumes. Is you've just got you're hyperglycemic ultimately because you've just got insulin constantly pulling the glucose out and putting it in storage, and hence you get bigger and get overweight. It is really a game of, and like you say, stripping it back is not complex. All foods manage your carbohydrate intake because we'll do quite well because again we just overconsume carbohydrate in our everyday diets then because we can do just fine. Our body can make carbohydrates through a process known as gluconeogenesis, and it can convert enough sugar for the brain, liver, and all other organs to function. So I mean, but again, it's that conventional wisdom mindset. We've got to be having this carbohydrate intake in order to do this, or shuttle fuel into muscle for muscle growth and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot to it in there. Like you said, you can break it down to easy steps, and I think that's kind of good. I read a lot of your stuff about you saying strip it back, like unlearn before you learn.
Absolutely, because again, on that with the carbohydrate, I mean, we'll do well without it. So I mean, but in order to do that, if you're used to consuming carbohydrates, what's known as a sugar burner, then you'll always need that carb refeed. You'll find yourself eating 5, 6, 7 meals a day. But once you open up a dormant system and you're known as a fat, becoming a fat burner, then you can actually learn to burn fat for fuel, whether that's ingested fat in the moment on your plate or from food, or whether that's stored fat on you, because a pound of fat you can hold in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
And a pound of fat's got 3,000 calories. So, I mean, we've got a hell of a tank on us at any one time anyway, but it's doing that and opening up. And that's what they're seeing with sort of COVID sufferers and poorer outcomes, is they're not what's known as metabolically flexible. They haven't awakened that fat burning capability, and they're just constantly high carbers, high sugar loaders, and they haven't woken up that. Because again, back to ancestral living, is we would have gone times with low amounts of carbohydrate, and we would have been extinct if we couldn't able to have a fuel source that helped us survive.
So like I've done keto before. I've got into like the fat burning, pissed on the strips, done all that sort of thing.
Get on you.
And well, I don't know. I found it difficult, I'll be honest, up until that point. You know, the first 7 days, like you said, your body's craving the carbs. You're like kind of desperate for it, aren't you? And you start getting in this weird zone where you're like I'm feeling knackered until you switch over, really, isn't it?
It is that. It's like you say, it's waking that dormant system, or doing the work first so you can be flexible. And then it means, it doesn't mean to say you'll never eat carbs again, but it means if you consume 200 grams of carbs in one day, it's not going to mean that you've got to do all that work again to open up to be a fat burner. But you're right, it's, you can get things like the keto flu and things like that, because your body is transitioning, it's undergoing these processes where it's waking up a dormant system to make you primal, make you operate optimally again.
Yeah, I did find it was good, but my biggest struggle was like, because I can't eat dairy. That was like one of the hardest, because it's quite it's an easy thing to consume when you're doing keto.
It is.
It's one of the, if you're looking for things to eat, something that always comes up is like cheese, milk. You know what I mean?
It is, and there's that term, dirty keto. I was guilty of it many years ago when I thought, okay, keep carbs to a minimum and just crazy fat intake, and then you're eating all these cured meats, salamis, pastrami's and stuff like that. And like you say, getting your dairy down, just you making sure you eat in your fat macro, keeping carbs down and moderate sort of protein. But I mean, it's not complex. Again, I mean, you can, vegetables has got copious amounts of carbohydrates in there that are enough, and with clean sources of humanely raised grass-fed meat and things like that, just need to stick to that. You don't need to overcomplicate it with just shoveling, because I mean, a lot of our produce has got seed oils and veg oils in it, and I mean, they don't do the body any justice whatsoever. They're really problematic. They're akin to smoking from the 50s. This new science is showing that. So again, it's just stripping it back, doing it the right way, and getting it from raw, real food.
Yeah. So when like a client comes to you, like what sort of information do you get off them to start? How does the process begin? Yeah,
well, we do, like you say, for me, and first of all, it's not just, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm a holistic health coach. So I mean, as part of my Evo Edge 90, which is a 12-week coaching program, we got a section in there which is the front end, because without the body, everything else is out the window. You've got to be taking care of your body in order to set yourself up for your future and your goals and whatever it is you want to achieve. So the intake form and things like that will get a sort of a freeze frame of where you are with your diet, ultimately, what you consume, what you don't consume. Can you go a period of time without eating? What is your source of food? Where do you eat it in terms of where do you get it from? And your things like beverages. Do you get your crazy fruit smoothie drink, again, all your calories from liquids instead of real foods? And the seed oils as well, because again, they are really problematic. So get a freeze frame, if you like, of somebody's sort of diary of food, and then once I work with guys, then is we take a deep dive on the nutrition side of it, and stripping things out, what to eat, what not to eat, and when not to eat as well, and building things like intermittent fasting and periods of time without food, because we can do quite well with it, as long as you do the legwork up front. And it's not so much for the nutrition aspect of the coaching is, it's great because people want to lose weight and they want to get that lean body mass, and that comes as a side dish. That's not, let's work with me so we can get your body weight down. That seems to be like more of a side dish, really. It's more about health and longevity and doing the right thing.
Feeling good.
Absolutely. Feeling good in the moment and making sure you're feeling good and swimming in the sea when you're age 90 is setting yourself up to see your grandkids grow up. And just having that foundation of information, again, it's education, and it's not stuffing any one thing or anyone, feeling is believing. trial things, work with things. That's what you do in that client-coach
Yeah.
relationship. I'm not saying you need to do and adopt this way. This is what I'm teaching you on, and let's find what is the right road for you.
Yeah. Do you is your goal to set them up so they can leave you? Is that like, because
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, because I think there are people out there
Yeah.
who maybe get people in, teach them a little bit to see benefits, but maybe not enough to set them free.
Yeah, indeed.
You know what I mean?
No, it's a good question. I mean, I got a crap business model because, I think at the end of 12 weeks, it's a case of, you're a little feral lion and it's on your way. I mean, the front end, you got nutrition, and then you got training, exercise. How we chronically exercise these days and beat ourselves up and don't recover well. Then we go through mindset, meditation, and then lifestyle and habit building. So, I mean, it's holistic. But you're right, but there is options then, because some people will learn. We're all different. Some people will just, suck on this stuff and have a transformation quicker than others. And after 12 weeks, they're ready to graduate and they're ready to kick ass in life. Some want that review monthly, like a coaching call, whether that's monthly, quarterly, or whatever. It's so varying. Everyone is so different. Everyone reacts totally different to it. And I think that's for me. If I had this offering back in 2017, I would have took someone's arm off for it, but it wasn't there. Like you say, I had to build it. I had to read the books. I had to geek out. My car became a university on wheels, because I would just, with my other, in my other career, I'd just constantly be on the road a lot, and I'd be learning instead of downtime. And I mean, with my OCD, never failed to clean the house weekly. It's a couple of hours. I stack that habit stacking. I learn now. I read audiobooks. I copious amount of books that I physically always have a physical book lying around the house that I always read every day. And it's just small systems really that set you up, to get you to your goal or your end point. And I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah. Well, I think it's life-changing for people, isn't it? Definitely to have that sort of experience. And I think, I don't know, a lot of it, when you got that accountability and you're told to do this and carry on and, train, eat well, you can do it in that moment. But I think for me as well, like, I've been in this like cycle of my life where ups and downs, like 1 minute I'm 18 stone, next minute I'm 14 stone, next minute I'm in somewhere in between. Somewhere in between now. And I think like a lot of it for me is always been, I'm trying to break it down now as time goes on, because I realize I can't carry on like this because it's all emotionally based. It's not like, it's not what I'm doing. Like it's a job to explain. And like, I wonder, do you tap into people's emotions as well as?
I get it. No, you're right. And I think that's where it's at, because it needs to become a lifestyle. I mean, it's not a diet. I mean, you've got these diet clubs that, again, talking about you've got a point system and you can eat so many sins and all that. I mean, it gets people results in the short term, but you'll end up going back to where you were. I mean, nothing like that ever lasts. That's why it's such a good business model, because it keeps you coming back, and you've got that cycle, as it was known as a yo-yo diet. So it's lifestyle, and it's exactly that. I mean, you need it to become your identity. And you haven't got a story, because like people ask me now, do I have cheat days? And I'm like, I cheat every day. I mean, I got a spectrum of foods that I can eat, which are, on 3 pages of A4. I don't just I'm not blinkered to a certain meal that I only eat once or twice a day. Such a variety. And I just, metabolically support my body. I'm, I take more, consume protein. I limit carbs, and I eat plenty of fat, good quality fat, saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and just avoid the polyunsaturated and all the man-made oils. And I mean, you're right on the emotions. Like you can say, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to do a diet tomorrow. I'm going to be positive. This is me. I got an holiday in the summer, and it doesn't last. It like you say, you can go there, you can do it. Anyone that switches an environment or a way of life will get a result. But unless you work on the mind, your mind will always pull you back to that default system, which is, and like people say, do affirmations. I am healthy, I'm healthy. It's only so long until your brain goes bullshit. Back to who you are, your familiar self. So it's actually is working on your beliefs, because you've got limiting beliefs and you've got empowering beliefs, and they run your life. There's values and there's beliefs. So unless you take a deep dive, which is what we do, in my one-on-one, is we take a deep dive on just understanding the mind, the thought, and working on beliefs, because it's likely that your beliefs limit you. So it's working on questioning those, leaning into them, because your beliefs are, a belief is a meaning of certainty. So it's something that you actually know in your mind is certain. So it's actually questioning that and leaning into, where do my beliefs come from? Because your beliefs are likely installed in you from your upbringing. The first 7 years of your life, you're a sponge. You're just a tape recorder. And whatever you are, and like you say, the good old, your parents stop you doing stuff and it's fear and you can't do this, shouldn't do that, you're having rows. And onwards in life, and then the people you bother with, your family values, and it just shapes you. And then you're this adult, which is a program of its upbringing. And then that forms your belief systems, your belief cycles, and you either have empowering beliefs or limiting beliefs. And like you say, you've got a diet on this hand, you can put a great nutrition plan and training program and recovery plan and something else for somebody. But unless they've done the work emotionally and done some emotional training, you will always find slowly but surely they'll be pulled back to their former self.
Yeah.
So it's actually doing the deep work. And like you say, it does. And like I said earlier, it does stem from the awareness that the beliefs are not fixed. Your identity is not fixed. It's likely something that you're that product of that programming from the past. So you can change that. You can scramble it. It's like a CD, or you can just re-record it. Yeah. And you can become a new program of your past to compel you and project you on.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to be the person you were yesterday every day of your life. You can keep
Indeed.
moving forward and change. I totally agree with that. It's trying to figure out the process of how, isn't it? That's the fun part, I suppose, in a way.
Indeed, and you're right. That I mean, to just for if I said to you, when you got dressed this morning, which leg did you put in your trousers first? Would you know, or would you have to think about it?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the classic subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Is we program it, and 95% of our day we operate out of our subconscious mind. So that's our program of the past. So we this walking zombie, if you like, to some respect. I'm not demonizing it, but we're only ever in creativity, or in the right part of the brain, 5% of the day. And that, through that 5% is how you reprogram your other 95. Yeah. And there's little things you can do, like hypnosis, subliminal tapes and things like that. And then there's 2 times in the day, pre-bed and in the morning, when your brain waves are at a certain state, where you can actually, it's a gateway into that subconscious mind for you to rewrite it. Yeah. But you're not taught this type of stuff.
That probably links well to, like, every evening before you go to bed, you're creating this master plan for the next day, which you then wake up, probably go on your phone and
indeed
kill the plan off.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, you wake up on what you was thinking the night before, and it's just training in that area, and it's again, it feeds into the the feral meaning. Actually, is just conventional wisdom. Forget all the stuff that doesn't serve you. What's important now, and I think that we're in a time in the world where I think people just need to do that work emotionally and reconnect, find out who they are, get rid of the devices and the external stimulation and external validation, and placing happiness on something outside of them, and just reconnecting and taking it back to the raw state, because we just far divorced from our natural set point.
So it's like I've been running for a couple of years on and off. This year, like, took to it probably more heavily than other years. And that hour or 2 hours a day some days, or whatever, or 5-6 times a week, that is where I find that creative space, because I'm literally just in my head, and you're literally running ideas back and forth with yourself about, like, oh yeah, what about this, what about that, and like you're thinking about things that you don't even know you're able to think about until you're out doing it.
Indeed.
And like walking as well, even out for a walk, and like you say, Getferal, literally there's nothing better than walking up the mountain behind me.
Can imagine. And
then that's where all these crazy, like, thoughts rush in, and you're like, Christ, this is like, and you realise how much you're leaving on the table and you're leaving behind when you sat behind your desk in work. You know what I mean? It's like, what am I doing? Like, in this.
Absolutely. And like you say, what you've done is you've identified, your entry points to that creative space, how it happens, when it happens. Many people don't do that. And they're not able to do it for whatever reasons. But I think it's a real shame, because, like I say, we're here to thrive. We're here for a purpose. We're here for a calling, whatever it is, without wanting to sound too geeky about it. But I mean, it is, and just, opening yourself up and being able to sit with your own mind. You just, the power is really within, and to create. But I mean, to go back on your point, when you run and your mind opens up, there's a reason why the forces, they incant certain phrases, words and rhymes, because they live and breathe it, and they tap their chest when they're doing it, because they're ingraining, they're actually retraining the nervous system. There's a reason you listen to a song some days and you repeat it, and then that's just running in your head.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's the reason why the forces do that. It's called incantation, and you actually just, you use your body a certain way, repeat a phrase a certain way. It's different to affirmations, because you can just sit in a certain position and just repeat a phrase, and then, like you say, your brain will pull you out and say nonsense. But an incantation is you just actually drumming it into your nervous system, and you believe it. It's congruent with who you are. It forms your identity.
Yeah.
So there's little tools and things like that you can do to just reset your identity, work on your beliefs, whether they're limiting or empowering, work on your values, to see where you are, because your life is emotion. And like you say, you've got to upgrade your emotional home in order to thrive.
I agree, mate. And like, I might butcher this now because it's not actually, this is coming secondhand off someone who's read a book as well, mate. Right. But I don't know if you've read it or not, but it's called Born to Run. I don't know.
I've not read it.
They reckon like that's really built into us from like back years ago when you were hunting, and basically, I am going to butcher it 100%, but there's like, obviously like 4-legged animals, they breathe differently to us. Their cardiovascular system's different to us. And then back in the days when we used to chase them down, us as humans have got a better cardiovascular system for long distance than they have, because we don't need to take a breath every stride. We can breathe as and when to a degree. So we chase them down, and then that's kind of built into us so naturally from back then, like you say, with the food and everything.
Yeah.
And as kids, like, we grow up and you don't ever see like a 3 or 4 year old walking. They're always running.
Indeed.
So this book is all about how we're born to run, and how it's like built into us from our past lives, etc. On how, and that's why I think it connects with so many people when they go out running now. You know, it gives you that feeling which you can't get anywhere else. And like you said, it's getting feral. It's going back to your roots, isn't it?
It 100%. I mean, I haven't read that book. I got a slightly different theory on that in terms of what I've come from and what I coach, is that we weren't designed to run long distances. The primitive folk would have sprinted distances and then stopped, like you said, recovered, and would have been nose only breathing. So I mean, I'm a real geek on breath work.
Yeah, no, I want to hear it.
And I mean, there's, we go as far as to say 90% of our day we should be nose breathing. We gassing it through your mouth like this. Now we're in stress state. We're in sympathetic nervous system tone, because we're in survival. We're in, our body now physiologically doesn't know whether we are under attack or whether we're just on a podcast talking.
Yeah,
it can't differentiate. So I mean, our mouths are for one thing, and that's eating, and our noses are for breathing. And it's very conventional. Again, it's flipping it. It's becoming feral, and understand. Well, does that make sense? And it balances CO2 and oxygen in the body, and then CO2 tolerance is linked with like depression and anxiety as well. So it for me, I love all that, because it makes me think, well, actually, we could be breathing our way to a depressed or anxious state. And breath is huge. I mean, we can, the quickest way to the body, or to the mind rather, is through the body. The mind can't change the mind. Matter can't change matter. A lot of people, but I mean, at age 17, we were all given the keys to the physical car and learned to drive, and we got the wheels for life. But we're not taught how to actually control our own vehicle. And breath is actually the key to the car. I mean, to bring you down or set you up to go, whatever it is, whatever life circumstance. But I mean, go back to your point on running. He was sprinting, stopping, sprinting, stopping.
Right, okay.
And that's what our genes expect in terms of that gene expression, whether you switch a gene on or not. So we won't go in this podcast, but it's epigenetics. It's the signaling of the gene. The gene might be encoded with certain DNA, like predispositions to obesity, cancers, and different chronic diseases. But whether that information gets thrown out into the body is down to the signaling and the environment. Or the environment could be anything. It could be a physical environment. It could be the environment you're giving it through thought, food, that type of environment. And sprinting, it gives you a massive up level in terms of human growth hormone, and also testosterone boosts as well, because we wouldn't have run those crazy long distances. If we didn't catch our kill, we would let it go. Or coming back to your point, we would have run after it, stopped, run after it, stopped, run after it. So we wouldn't have gone crazy. And I'm probably going to ruffle a lot of feathers on that for your listeners. And they'd be like, what's this dude
the one
all
mate
about?
told me about this book, he's going to be ripping you, mate.
I know, exactly. But I mean, I'm just a living example of that, because I've not done I haven't run, over 200 yards for years since I finished rugby, like 3 years ago. And I'm probably in better physical condition now than ever. Because of that reason is my cardiovascular doesn't exist. It's short, intense, all out, what our genes expect, heavy lifting twice a week, and rest and recovery. And I get my cardio from my cold exposure, ice bathing, and modes like that, really.
Yeah. I've tried. Well, for me, I really enjoy the long distance. I don't know what it is. It's just something that seems to connect with me. But no, I agree. Like, I do feel benefit from doing sprints and everything as well. I think there's obviously, there's probably.
I just think it's a game of managing stress, cortisol and adrenaline in the body. If you've got that constantly in the blood, the stress chemicals, then it's a poor strategy, really, because you won't sleep well. You won't react well in life. You definitely won't respond, and you just in fight or flight mode. You're in stress states. You're not bringing yourself down. Like when I train, I will always bring myself back down. I will reset the system through the breath after. And I just think crazy long distances and then not resetting the system and then going back to family life and your career and just constantly being stressed. I find that we're in stressed in, and stress is good. Stress helps you grow. It helps you survive. But I just think our tolerance for stress is we've breached that threshold, and everything is just, even a text now gets us stressed.
I can
just think it's too chronic, and it's catabolic in some respects. So I do the all out reset.
Yeah. Well, like I've done meditation. I say I've done meditation, as in I have done it. I've done it like religiously for time. It's a common feature in my life.
Beautiful.
I'm like up and down with things, as you can tell. Yeah. But it definitely massive impact. Like you say, nothing else stress. It's like if I take this 10 minutes a day to do this, the rest of my day is less stressful. But it's like, again, you convince yourself I haven't got time for them 10 minutes. But them 10 minutes saves you an hour over the day of all this crap feeling you've got, which slows you down anyway.
Beautiful. So, yes, it's well put. I mean, that's what I teach. I mean, for 2% investment in your day determines how the other 98 works out.
Mental.
And it is no difference. And I mean, there's a recent study done, and it's a real shame, because I work with men. I will work with female. But I mean, for me, it's that middle-aged man, because it's somebody that's treading the path that I've come, because I can only take a client on a journey that I've been on, and gotten the results that they need and want. But I mean, the meditation is foundational. I mean, to going back to that study, they had a control group of females and males, and there was a group of males asked to just sit. It wasn't labeled as meditation, but sit with their thought for, I think, 10 minutes. And the statistics were 67%, certainly nigh on 70% of men wouldn't take just sit there with their thoughts. They'd opted for the electric shock, because that was the other option. And I just think, it's because that is the foundation, just to sit there and actually, the concept of the thought is not yours, that you're the thinker of the thought, and just allowing, like the beach wave analogy. You're on a beach, wave comes up, that's the thought. You leave it come, because a lot of people get confused. The meditation is to sit there and not have a thought. But that's nonsense, because it's like saying or commanding.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's like commanding the heart to stop beating. You couldn't do that. It's going to happen. And you need a thought. It's like doing that bicep curl in the gym. You need that resistance. You need it there for it to grow and develop. So you need that thought. You need thought in meditation. And then it's that wave. It just comes in and out. Or guests at a dinner party is another analogy. Is, you're a host at a dinner party. Guests come. You're not going to turn your back on them. You're going to welcome them, but just don't stay there. Don't spend time. Just say hello and then onward to the next. Say hello, onward to the next. So you're using thought, really, and repetition over the time. I mean, is huge, and it's great tool for just like you say, expanding your comfort zone, your creativity, and it gets rid of a lot of stored stress on the nervous system.
Mate, it's 100% amazing. Like when I was doing it, like I used to get road rage and everything beforehand. I don't know, someone would pull out on you, be like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Verbal abuse. So you're right, and I mean, you're right. We're living in the hormones of stress. We constantly reacting in life instead of learning to respond. There's a stimulus. There's between a stimulus and a reaction. There's a period of time that you can sit there and think, well, actually, I'm going to
That's what that did for me.
Yeah.
That was like,
Wow.
instead of like, I'm coming up to the junction, this dickhead's pulled out on me. He's like, fucking wank, I'm going to beat my own at him. It was like, nah, not today, mate.
Beautiful.
Like literally just put that block in.
Indeed.
And I like, that naturally happened though. Like from doing it, it wasn't like, you know, this meditation's done. It was a really weird thing. I noticed it the one day and I was like, whoa.
I'm real.
There's only one thing I've changed, and
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, and like you say, you can type out, but it does it. I think it just it allows you to operate from a place of neutrality. It just equals you, and it doesn't give you any. It doesn't give you any. You know, it is ego in terms of the monkey mind and your inner voice and things like that. But I just think it does level. It does turn down that critical voice inside your head, and I just think you become the author and director of your life ultimately. And you get compound effect over time. But I think there's a slight misconception between meditation and mindfulness, because mindfulness is touted as meditation, but mindfulness is just the act of, or the art of being in the now, the present moment, and that could be any that a meditation sitting is like however that long is for you. For me, 20 minutes, but then mindfulness then is throughout the day and just feeling your feet on the floor, whether you're moving from room to room or whether you're making a cup of coffee. I mean, I got to catch myself sometimes because my morning cup of coffee is part of my crazy morning routine, and I'll just be wolfing my coffee down for me in order for me to segue through to my next. And I got to catch yourself. And that's mindfulness. That's being mindful that there is no future unless I take care of the present moment.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And I find myself in here sometimes when you're not taking care of that, and you're having a conversation with someone, but I'm thinking about something else. And it's like, you do that with everything in your life, and you're not paying full respect to what you're doing, and like you're not getting 100% of your results. You just kind of mulling through and not really hitting anything. But I think like how you do something is how you do everything to a degree.
I love that. Yeah.
And when you start that, like it just grows. So if you're starting by doing everything wrong, it just grows. And it's the same with like swapping on his head and doing everything right from the start. You just
bang on.
I can drift in and out of both, and I think everyone can. And it's got to be a constant goal.
Indeed, you're right. You've got to have a vision. You've got to know where you're heading. And then you do look at your small systems, your habits or your rituals, your standards, whatever you want to label them as. And I mean, you need to construct them to set you up as an on-ramp to reach that destination of what you want. And I mean, the old cliche is trust the process, enjoy the road, never arrive. And that is right. So you've got to enjoy these little things you do, because don't get there. Because sometimes you're on the wrong mountain, you're climbing the wrong mountain, you arrive, it's not it, sort of thing. But I mean, you're right. You can set yourself up for empowering habits that take you on an entirely different. And you're right. You said it earlier. It's mastery, and it's just repetition, and just keep them going. And then before long, something that was really painful or really hard for you to do, it gets wired in. And it's in the nervous system, it's in the subconscious mind, and you run that habit out then without any willpower and without any sort of energy, and it's system. It's same with me with the cold. It was very painful at the start to get in cold, water. It still is. That's one of the beauties of cold exposure. But I mean, the system is such that it allows me, like you say, to get in that return on investment. It just, in the morning, it's part of my wheels. And it determines how the rest of my day goes. I get there, it's not very comfortable. I'm inducing stress, controlling my body's reaction through breath, and then onwards. But I mean, I say I do now. My body knows it's along for the ride. My mind tries to talk me out there, but I'm in there.
Yeah.
And I do it. And I mean, not for everyone. But you're right. I think you just can switch out a poor or an habit that's not taking you to where you want to go. And it's hard at first, but you get that momentum. And it's like a rocket going to space. It uses all its power at the start. But when it's up and it's in orbit, it doesn't take half as much power, energy. It's not as simple as flowing. But I mean, at the start is the hardest. It's just making that commitment start, go, and the laws of momentum will be behind you.
I agree, mate. And I think I'm guilty of this. We waste so much time saying we haven't got time. Like we have. Like I, spend like 3 or 4 hours some nights watching telly. I'm like, nah, you're full of shit. When I'm telling myself you haven't got time, it's just a lie. Do you know what I mean?
Indeed,
and
it is.
One thing I wanted to ask you as well, have you ever tried like a float tank? Have you ever?
I have, yeah.
I haven't had anyone else who's in you who's tried it.
To be honest, it's not much I haven't tried, right? I mean, on this journey of geeking out and self-optimization, But yeah, I've done a float. I haven't done any of the sort of taking of a crazy substance, because I said you know you can go the levels on it. But I mean the float tank alone, Epsom salts, and it's an experience for me in that it got better over time, because my first one was very much, this is what it feels like to be buried alive, because it was complete darkness. I was just floating in this, you know, in the water. Music for like the first 15 minutes, and then 45 minutes of just me in the mind. But then that was the first few times, and then just complete bliss after that. Complete reset. And the sleep, I use a lot of biofeedback to measure my HRV, heart rate variability, resting heart rate, and my quality of sleep. And the stats I get after that, it's a complete sensory deprivation experience. And I mean, it can completely level you. It just takes you. You got, you know, your limbs hasn't got to worry about supporting joints or joint supporting limbs, and you've got nothing against you. It's a complete, well, it is a float tank.
It's amazing, mate.
It is, isn't it? Have you done it?
Yeah. And I had exactly the same as you. The first one, I feel like I went there a bit anxiety driven.
Yeah.
And you don't get the full effects. And then you go down there a second time, you've already met the member of staff, you already know the process.
Yeah.
So you're getting in and you're getting straight back into the place you left off the last time, I find.
Yeah.
And then it's just, like that, I think it was the third or fourth time I went.
Right.
I didn't know if I was awake or asleep at one point.
Wow.
Like I didn't know. And I was
Yeah.
coming around, I was like, am I at home? It was like a proper, I
sounds-
felt like I was genuinely like tripping in there. It was really weird, but
It's funny because everyone gets different experiences, doesn't it? Because I was going with a close mate of mine, and
I didn't take any substances as
was-
well.
Some say you can take some different things to get the, you know, the DMT and different experiences. I mean, yeah, I'm not at that level. I'm just doing it for nervous system reset and just getting that yin yang. But I mean, the mistake I made is I didn't leave my flannel on the left hand side of me, and I had a bit of salt in my eye because I was scratching the
Nasty,
eye.
innit?
And but I just had to calm the mind down because my mind was saying, get out, go and wash, go on, it's enough, you've done enough. But it's just like you say, it's that. It was beautiful because I know what it's doing to me and I'm trusting in the process. And it's like you say, I'm in that conversation with yourself, really, that it comes up and it's like, ooh, you need to get out of this. It's the ego, it's the monkey mind. And then it's that I wouldn't say a battle, but it's like, no, I'm cool with this. Yeah. Just having that conversation with myself. That's what it was like at the start for me. So, you know, I got a lot from it. I mean, yeah, I got the results in terms of it restored and resetted me, as well as I think there was a little bit of brain training in there as well, just to calm that inner voice.
I think it's awesome for me as well. Like I haven't done it since I went in between the lockdowns, like so September or something last year, and like not going from then till now. I genuinely feel different from not doing it in a way, because I was going like once every 2 months or something, so it was like built in, and I could always feel towards them. I would always feel better anyway, say for the first 6 weeks after having it. And I know that sounds crazy that it would have that much of an effect for that amount of time, but I genuinely felt the difference, and I could feel myself going down. You know, if you could build that in once, if you could do that once a week, I think that would be like.
Oh, I fully agree.
Amazing.
I mean, absolutely.
Time and money though with that, I know.
It is, but I mean, you know, when you need help or you know something needs to change and it's a must for you, not a should. I mean, these little things, it's nice, you know, we're blessed to have them around us. I mean, it depends who you speak to. You won't be prescribed that, you know, in terms of, well, have a meditation sit-in, go and speak with, you know, a coach, or, you know, have a blood panel to test for, you know, different things. But I mean, it's beautiful. We got these things all around us. A lot of the things are free. A lot of the things we can just do, connect barefoot, nature, ground, earth out, just sit, be with nature. You know, the amounts of studies that just listening to nature's sounds can do for stress levels is profound. Yeah. A lot of these things are all around us. We've just learned to mess them up. We're just far divorced from...
Fast as well.
Aye.
Do you think?
You know what, indeed. I mean, you know, we know the world has changed more since 1992, I believe it is. That's the year I started high school as well. To now than it ever has. And that's millions of years of evolution. And I think that's, you know, that's pretty damn scary. And it's no wonder why, you know, we self-imploded. It's not no one's fault. It's the fact that the world is changing so much and our brain is the same, and it's designed to keep you safe. So you just pick up your hunter-gatherer brain that's just, you know, comes out in the morning, goes and forages, hunts for the kill, slowly brings it back, has a bit of weight on its back, goes back, connects with its tribe, cook food, they drink and be happy, and they have natural light in the night, and they're not bombarded with junk light. But you pick that brain up now, and you drop her in today's times. No wonder it's presenting you with, because that's what it does. It's just designed to keep you safe. And like you say, you can put your immune system out of work in order for 6 hours now just from reading a text. Yeah. And it's a real shame. It is a real shame.
Mate, it is. And I think these are a massive problem. The phones and everything. There's a lot of benefits. Obviously, connects you worldwide and everything like that. But I feel like the disconnect it provides is probably greater. And yeah, like I said, it's a constant battle to think what's right and what's wrong with it. And it makes you think like, all these issues are being thrown up by that and the food we're eating and everything like that. But then certain things are illegal, which probably aren't as bad. And it's like, it's always these constant, like, sort of moral things I always wonder about in the world. And yeah, it keeps you up at night sometimes, like, thinking about it.
It does. And my old man,
if you involve yourself in it too much, like,
indeed. And I mean, that's my mission. Is at the end of the day, I want to, I just want to I want to give back. I want to contribute. I want to help people transform, change their lives, just give them education, be there as an accountability partner, work with them. What's not working? Well, why not? What can we try? What do you like? What don't you like? Because I just don't think that system exists. And I mean, yeah, we vilify the tech and stuff, but I mean, it could set you up for life. Just use it wisely, have a bit of education, monitor it. Like yesterday, we have a Sunday Wi-Fi free day, tech free. We have a family. My oldest girl, she hates it, but we just connect. We watch a movie, and then we may play a board game. I mean, we'll just really disconnect from any digital device. And I mean, it's massive. Cool. It makes my Monday. I wake up Monday morning refreshed. It's needed. It's just taking yourself offline to be better online.
Yeah, mate, that's amazing. I totally agree. And I've had time. I take maybe 2 to 3 days off now and then. I'll delete all the apps off my phone, and then it's literally an alarm clock and like a Strava and just the things which I think are beneficial. And
absolutely, it's great. It's like it's nothing too heavy. It's just little tips to say, and this is what I always coach my clients on. The world's not going to crash if you don't access email. Within 3 hours of waking up in the morning. Don't let your world in. Work on you first. Whatever that is, that's moving. We got the greatest playground on earth. Our body, this is why we designed the way we are. An Homo sapien with two legs and 2 arms. We're supposed to move frequently, but move in the morning. Allow yourself to just, have natural elevation of cortisol. Expose yourself to natural light in the morning. Step away from that conventional mindset. You just got to wake up. Even, to just getting into your corporate world of opening up your mailbox, because it'll consume you, because again, your brain will kick in and it'll try and work things out. Have a little bit of breath work in the morning, getting cold, getting hot, set yourself up, because like you say, it can just take, a 2 millimeter shift in your morning routine, the compound effect of that over weeks and months, I mean, can just, land you in a totally different destination.
Yeah.
It's key.
That's awesome, mate. And I think that's a good place to finish it if you're happy with that.
Absolutely. But
unless you got anything else you want to say, a final message?
Not at all, other than, life is to thrive. And I mean, I just think this, what I'm doing and what I'm passionate about and what I feel is my purpose and my calling is being there for people. People need people, and I mean, just to talk about things, whether it's, a full-on transformational experience, and I just want to keep evolving myself, keep growing, keep learning, all true to my, my mission is to just give back and help. And if anyone, no matter how big or small, we need problems. If we haven't got, the only people that haven't got problems are in the graveyard. You need problems as a stimulus to grow. It's a message to self to say, I need to step into this because bliss is on the other side, and use it to your advantage instead of it consuming you, and lean into it and just label and badge your pain points differently.
Amazing, mate. I think a lot of people who watch this are definitely going to get something out of it. Thanks very much for coming on.
Happy days.
Everyone get over, check out Getferal. He's got a Getferal merch page as well on Instagram. Indeed. So thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Andrew for coming on.
Privilege out. Thank you very much, mate.
Subscribe to the channel and